is about, what Smart Nation is about, why we're here in the first place. We'll have a really exciting panel discussion. We have 4 agencies who will be sitting on the panel and talking to you about what their daily lives are like, why exactly they joined the public sector, what they're working on right now, what they're excited about now and in the future. And after that, we have a networking session here in person. We have quite a few agencies. They're all listed at the back. Things like the agencies you might be familiar with, like CPF Board, Civil Service College, GovTech, and so on. And for the folks online, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you as well. Hello to the 74 of you who are joining us online. We have agency representatives who will be taking your questions online later. And there will be around like 30, 40 minutes of questions. So feel free to leave your questions in the online Q&A portion so that our agencies can address them. Yeah, and the networking will be over food. So if you didn't already manage to get some food, you can get some food later. Okay. So just a really, really quick introduction. What is it that we're doing here today? What is this whole government movement? Well, it all started with Smart Nation. Smart Nation is a movement that was started a couple of years ago in the government. And the idea is not so much to build like glitzy projects across the government, things that sound good but don't actually have any real impact. What we want to do is to find real problems and build citizen-centric and good products, good tech products and good solutions for citizens that make a lot of sense. So things that have good design, things that have good software management principles, things that are built on modern frameworks. And that's what we're trying to do with Smart Nation. We're trying to solve real people's problems so that we can make an impact on citizens' lives and make people's lives better. Ultimately, that's what it's about, right? There are 3 broad prongs of Smart Nation. I won't really go into them in short. Through Smart Nation, we're trying to build a good economy. We're trying to build jobs and opportunities for Singaporeans and folks who live in Singapore. We're trying to build a good government. So all of the services that you use today, we want to make them as seamless and as friendly for all ages as possible, for all segments of society, because that's who the government serves. And finally, a digital society, so one where things are incredibly convenient, where things make a lot of sense, and it's a society that we want to be part of, and we're really happy to be proud of, and we are proud of being part of. So this is a quote from one of our leaders in our organization, and it's basically an observation. It's not meant to be a judgment per se on shopping or entertainment. These are fantastic sectors to be in. But one of the observations we've made is that the best people in the world, the best tech talent, the most competent people in the tech sectors are working on solving problems like making it easier to buy things online, shopping, or making it easier to stream videos, entertainment. And what we are really trying to do is to encourage you to consider the public sector where you can solve real-world problems and make a really big impact on many, many citizens' lives if you were to join one of our agencies. We want the best people to be working on public good problems. It's not to say that we're not happy with people who are working on different types of apps or all the solutions that bring us so much joy, but we also need an incredible amount of good talent to join the public sector so that we can solve big problems together and make a big impact. And if some of you in the audience today, as well as joining us online, might not necessarily be Singaporean, or you might not have been in Singapore for that long. And one of your questions is, Singapore is such a small country, like what is the impact that I can make? If I'm building an app, the app is used in the region, it's used globally. If I'm supporting this product, it might have a global reach. And in Singapore, it's a tiny red dot, it's a small country. But I think what we're trying to do is also to punch above our weight. We have many collaborations with governments around the world. There are events and cooperation programs that we organize. There are tech exchanges. We host people from all over the world in GovTech and OCP's offices here, people who are interested in learning about Singapore solutions to things, where you can really be a test bed for digital solutions and innovation, and then figure out how to propagate this to the rest of the world. We have many examples. You can talk to us about them later, about the kind of global impact that's possible from Singapore. But yes, so just to assure you that we're not thinking just in the neighborhood or thinking locally. We're also thinking about the kind of impact that we can make globally as a tiny country. Okay, and you might be curious what you are doing today, what you're doing here today, why we're organizing these information sessions. So just to let you know, the government is hiring. We are hiring quite aggressively across many different agencies, more than 60 agencies with 700 plus tech-related jobs. How many of you here are product or project managers today? Oh, wow, awesome. Yes, and there are many agencies that are hiring for your roles as well. We are really hoping to bring in, like I said, some of the best talent across all different sectors into the government. Over the next 3 months, we're having this big hiring push, and therefore the agencies who are here today are some of the agencies that you can consider applying to, and if not, we'll give you the information later on where you can drop your resumes, where you can find the jobs across the rest of the government. Yeah, so do consider the public sector, and hopefully the panel today will inspire you to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the time over to Jan, who is one of our senior product managers working on the health tech space. Jan came over from the private sector and has, I think, had a good time at OGP so far, so I hope. Getting there. And he will introduce the rest of our panelists today. We're very excited to have such a diverse panel, people from all different agencies, different walks of life. Yeah. So I'll hand the time over to Jan right now. Thank you.
Thanks, okay, so hi, once again, my name is Jan, but it's not about me. Maybe the panelists can make their way over to the stage. The stage is here. All right. Okay, so maybe we can go around and introduce ourselves and where we're from in terms of organization, not like Singapore. There's also also a fun fact for yourself. So you want to kick it off? Some comment first. Okay, I'll pass the mic to you. Unfortunately, we only have 2 mics. So.
Okay, hello everybody. It's quite interesting because fun fact is I just got slotted in the last hour before this whole session started. And I was hoping they would go by that way, but unfortunately they arrowed me to go first, so yes, so I will go first. So I'm Carmen. I'm from HDB. I am with the service for about 12 years already. And to be very honest, my journey with the service has been very colorful in the sense that I haven't been working on just one area. Throughout the 12 years, I have an opportunity to work across different type of projects and different areas of work as well. So I started off. So I started off as a project manager or systems analyst, and then over the years I started managing. I went into the area of data, right? And I started managing people, handling a lot of the data management, data science work, and now I'm also starting to venture into the area of product management and leading a team to transform a lot of the applications we have today towards a more product-centric setup.
Hello, I'm Ning Sang. I'm from Data Science and AI Division, in particular the Video Analytics team. So what we do at the Video Analytics team is bringing video analytics or computer vision capabilities to public offices. So in terms of my background, I joined GovTech about 3 years ago, before which I was in ministries for almost 10 years. I did start off with the IT, okay, maybe backtrack a bit, go further. I started out in a game company in Japan, but then I joined government. Unfortunately, not in IT. I was a diplomat in Tokyo at some point. I covered budget policies. I covered bilateral relations with, I think, 20 over countries. So very different background, but I joined as a product manager about 3 years ago in GovTech doing video analytics. So a quick summary, yeah.
Hi, my name is Richard. I'm the CIO of NLB. I guess among the panelists, I'm the oldest here. Give my white hair. Actually, just to share also that I come from the private sector. I'm in the public sector for almost about, I think, my 7 years. Okay.
Can I try this mic?
Yeah, so I came from private sector. I in the private sector in the IT industry for about, I guess, 20 years. That's why I say I'm the oldest here. 20 years before I joined public sector. Yeah. And in the ICT world, in the public sector, I have done everything. I've been a business analyst, functional consultant, DBA, solution architect, business development manager. Basically, I do a lot of things. And also cover different kind of industry. And then after that, coincidentally, I was asked to join one of the public agency. I wonder whether you know, it's called Workforce Development Agency, WDA, which later became SSG, ESG. Yeah. And then thereafter, I joined NLB. I've been NLB for about a year. But actually, my experience in private sector is quite interesting. If later on you want to have more information, how do you survive from a private sector, transit from private sector to a private sector, you can have a talk about it, right? There are tips and tricks which I can share with you, maybe later in a separate settings. Yeah. Because there's too many things to talk about. I can spend 1 hour talking about it. Yeah. So what I do in NLB, I'm the CIO. I take care of a technology services group, having many systems for the library and the archives group. All in all, we have about 60 plus systems to serve our patrons. Right? So you have, I assume everybody read books one way or another, even newspaper, magazines, right? I'm quite sure you have somehow either visit our physical libraries or using NLB Mobile App, which is our digital libraries. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sonia. So I'm a product manager at OGP. I guess like OGP, I'm not sure many of you have heard of us, but we're kind of like, we like to think of ourselves as an incubator for public good startups. So not one big company like with one big product, but rather kind of a platform that empowers all these startups and individual entrepreneurs to solve problems for public good, right? Yeah, so I guess over my time at OGP, I've worked on like COVID products, I've worked on our form builder product, which is now used across like all the agencies in government. And I currently look at what we call platforms. So they are like tools for the whole of government to use that they can kind of like modular tools that they can put together to kind of like digitalize their workflows and help everything like just move faster. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so my name is Jan. I am a product manager at OGP. I joined 6 months ago after being in the private sector for not as long as 20 years, but yeah, but like 9 years, 9 years. Halfway there, not made it. Yeah. Maybe after another 11 years, my hair will be as white as yours. Okay. But anyway, yeah, so I made the transition from being in like 2 startups and then back to public sector because I wanted to make more direct social impact. Because back in the day, when I say back in the day, it's just last year. My customers were MNCs, so the social impact was very, very indirect. So I wanted to do something that could like build products that my sister or my mom or parents could use. It would be better for their lives. So for example, I work on health appointment system, and you can book your vaccination appointments through there. And so when we launched it, my parents, my family got vaccinated from the application. So it's like I may not be a doctor, but I would like to think that we save some lives. Yeah. Okay, so we're supposed to say fun facts about ourselves, by the way. So a fun fact about me is that I'm left-handed, but I kick with my right foot. Yeah, it's super weird.
Oh, I can share a fun fact about that. So I'm right-handed, but I play ice hockey and I play on the left. So this side is I'm like considered left-handed for hockey. Yeah.
Fun fact about me. Wow, tough.
Yeah.
Are you too fun or maybe not fun fact, just a fact, interesting fact. I graduated as an accountant, but I work in the IT industry.
My fun fact, I didn't hire an ID guy for my house. I did the whole design and also the whole contracting process myself. The process took about 8 months from the start of the design, drawing all the the wardrobes and everything, to the point that I'm living in my house. Yes.
Maybe HDB should.
Idea.
Fun fact about me probably would be I'm actually a person who is not very good with numbers. So when I was given the position to manage a bunch of data scientists, I really freaked out because those are all maths experts.
Okay, so since the mic is ready to start with you, okay, Carmen. So what initially inspired you to join the public service?
I guess it's the outreach and the possibility of really impacting a lot of people, right? And to me, it's able to help and do good. That really motivated or inspired me to actually consider a position in the public service.
Yeah, I actually bought one of your houses.
Thanks.
Okay, so maybe you can share.
Okay, maybe I shall not say why I joined. It was not quite by choice, but why I stayed. Okay, why I stayed, right? I mean, like many months ago, I'm already a free being, and I can choose to leave. But I decided to stay, and in fact, while I left Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that's my last job. I studied engineering and I was programming, right, for a game company, and I wanted to continue my passion in technology. So at that time, 10 years away from technology, a lot of things have changed, right? Python became so popular. Like I C++ one, so very old. Yeah. But
Still your age, but
But anyway, so I want to continue in tech because I think it really helps change. Or add value to people's lives, right? It's supposed to augment how we live, right? How to support what we want to do. But at the same time, I think I'm still, trying to believe in the cause lah. Don't know what cause it is, but it's the cause, the public cause, right? So instead of being at the front line, working with as a diplomat, I thought, why don't I contribute in a different way where I like to work on, which is technology and product management. At the time, seemed the most viable, bringing together all the things that I've accumulated over 10 years, and GovTech was one of the places. And video analytics being, just the opportunity that came up. And one other thing I wanted to share was that I'm a product manager here in the VA team, where my product actually enables officers to develop their own models, own deep learning AI models, right? And these models' capabilities that they achieve or get, it's not about, front-facing like public. Of course, I would love my mom to use my product, but unfortunately, no. But it's actually to transform the way they work, right? It's to make the way they work better. And being 10 years in the service, I shall not say too much, but I've also observed other countries where some are worse off than us, paper pushing, like literally. And then some are more advanced than us. And I truly believe that using technology and changing the way government works is the cause for me, right? So I continued to stay. I chose to go join GovTech. I continued to stay on. I continue to believe in the fact that I'm not here just to change how people live, but also how we work to make it more efficient, more effective, and tapping on technology, powers technology to deliver, right? So that's my spiel.
Okay, so I just wanted to add to that. So since you're talking about deep learning, when I was younger, I actually wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't do much deep learning. So that's why I couldn't make it. And eventually into product management.
We are your backup then.
But in product management, actually you have a wider reach and then you can save more lives than a doctor. So if any doctors here, right?
Yeah, technology is a way of, it's like a language, a tool, a mode, right? To help whoever is doing their work do better.
Yeah.
I think, right? So maybe I credit you, same place.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, you want to give it a shot? Yeah. So what inspired you to? I mean, you spent like 10,000 years in private sector, then you come to public. What happened?
Actually, just now I also in my introduction I say it's a coincidence. I spent I think the last few years in private sectors before I joined private sector, mostly outside of Singapore. I can tell you I spend 5% of my life in the year in Singapore. Doing a lot of global projects for different countries. So all the 5 continents I traveled. So finally I say I'm sick and tired of it. Right? Doing almost the same thing, helping business to grow, transform, so and so forth. And I say, well, maybe it's time for me to consider other options. And coincidentally, at that point in time, there was a job in WDA. Right? They newly formed a division to roll out a key initiative and key systems, which I think if you're Singaporean 25 years and above, you enjoy that, which is SkillsFuture credit. Yeah. So I was the so-called, the time there's no term called product manager, right? I'm the project director that I in charge of so-called the business owner as well as the system owner, all the systems and also the policies. So that's how I step into WDA and into the public sector. And similarly to like what she said, like why I continue for the ongoing after I joined WDA. It's really the things that you do, you can actually see there's an immediate impact. Right? Whatever system that you roll out to support the initiative, to support the policies, it's really a public good that you're given to the citizens of Singapore. And you can see immediate effect. Right? And I can proudly share with you, because SkillsFuture credit, the training participation rate of Singapore have increased tremendously. And from that experience, that's why it motivated me to continue to stay in the public sector. So be it after WDA, I joined with SSG, SkillsFuture, GCC, and now NLB. Right? I can see everything that I do, whatever system I build, like even a mobile app, it does have impact to the life of the citizens. And that's why it motivates me to continue to stay. Of course, there are different kind of challenges, right, working in the public sector, but I think the challenges does come with benefit and comes with satisfaction, which you won't be able to find in the private sector. And I can testify to that.
Yeah, I wanted to say actually, it's pretty cool when people organically come up to you when they know that what you're working on. They're like, hey, I use your app, this is quite good, blah, blah, blah. It's quite nice. So like, to share a similar experience, not mine, but one of my engineers. Actually, you guys may know him, Kiwei. Basically, Kiwei worked on the COVID booking system, right? And he was in the bus, and apparently someone in front of him was. Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, so basically, he was on a bus, and the person in front of him was helping his or her parent book the COVID appointment for them on their behalf. The vaccine, yeah, the COVID vaccine. And he's like, oh, okay, I worked on that. It's quite cool, you know. Yeah, so that's the end of the story. Wait, I'll come to you. I wanted to ask Richard actually, since you have the mic. You've been on both sides, right? Private sector, public sector. And there are people out there, there have been a lot of tech layoffs from the private sector. And they may have a lot of conceptions, misconceptions, preconceptions or misconceptions about working in the public sector. Yeah. So what do you think? Can you clear the air? Or what's your experience?
It's a very tough question. Also very
how many hours?
Okay, so to me, one of the key things that I think if coming from a private sector background, right, before you start to consider even joining a public sector, one key thing that people always tell me, are you sure you want to join? Right? Because there's so much red tape. Right? I mean, that's always a key thing that people always ask this question. And to me, they are not red tapes. To me, they are just simply processes, right? Be it from a governance perspective, and they're just simply processes, right? To make sure that you are moving in the right direction in whatever things that you do. Okay, it's the same thing even you go to. I used to work in Citibank, right? You talk about the kind of governance, the kind of so-called red tape. think the banks even worse than the public sector. At least that's my experience. Right? And when I was a consultant implementing different systems for different kind of countries, industries, or different customers, it's the same thing, right? I look at every MNC big companies, they have very tight processes, policies, and when I compare those to the public sector, actually some of it is, to me, I think that's even tighter compared to the government sector. Yeah. Of course, there's one thing that the first thing that I surprised me when I joined public sector. The most challenging thing for me is nothing to do with technical knowledge or knowledge about technologies, right? It's the applications. Right?
Oh, I made a blog on that, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, you don't know the application.
Right, yeah.
You put inside, they'll tell you what it means.
So when I joined WDA, right, there's about 20 plus divisions. So every division is an abbreviation, right? OPD, CDD, whatever D, okay? Yeah, and then plus the policy, every policy also has its abbreviation, right? Like CT, ERPs, things like that, right? Yeah. So I took almost 6 months to understand all the abbreviation and what each division does. See? Because each division covers its own area, right? And from a value chain perspective, right, you need to understand every part of the organization, how they work with each other, how ultimately working with each other to achieve, deliver system as well as policy. So to me, that is the biggest challenge for me when it comes to public sector. The rest, easy as chicken feed, trust me. Yeah, right? Because processes is processes, policy is policy, right? Yeah. So it's the same as what I experienced in the private sector. So to me, I always tell my new staff, when you join me, okay, I'll give you probably 6 months to 1 year to start understanding how the public sector works, especially more of how the different divisions work with each other, or even agency work with ministries, or agency work with agencies. Right? That's the part that you have to take time to learn. But the rest of it is, I think, based on your experience, your capability and your knowledge, you can do the work.
Sonia, you wanna, what kind of misconceptions you think people have when it comes to joining the public sector?
Should I answer the previous one about what inspired you to join?
Or if you want, you can whatever.
Okay, so I'll answer both. I guess like Ning Sang, I won't explain why I joined because not glamorous reason, but I'll talk about why I stayed. So so I'm also a free bird now. Why I stayed and there are many other tech employers out there, right? I mean, and all of you work at some of them. What I found at OGP is really the unparalleled autonomy to pursue any problem space that you are passionate about. So as a product manager at OGP, you don't manage a product, you're like an entrepreneur actually, and your mandate is to just go and create public good. That's it, it's that broad, you can do anything you want. So John, he came in, he was very sure he wanted to do something healthcare or education, because healthcare, like his heart beats for healthcare. And yeah, now do you want to share what you're doing now?
Oh yeah, so
I'm very excited.
I was working on health appointment system, which allows you to, it's quite cool. On the clinic side, they just set the opening hours. Pretty simple, right? I open from this time to this time. The public side, what we do is we take the opening hours, split it up into 30-minute slots, and expose it to the public. So all the public has to do, all the public has to do is choose, key in their postal code or search for the clinic, choose the date and time, and then get the appointment ready. Like in 1 minute, you get an appointment.
Grab for clinic.
It's like Grab for clinics, yes. What I'm working on right now is also quite cool, I think. Is a way to divert or right side non-emergency cases away from emergency departments. And that's quite similar to a Grab for GPs idea, which is you wake up on Monday morning, you want to go to work, so you take out your phone, you put in your postal code and you say, find me a GP. Then we'll find you a GP that's the closest, with the shortest queue, and the way to walk to the clinic, because we understand that maybe you don't know where the clinic is, right? And how long it takes to walk there.
You're not selling the key value proposition.
What is it?
Key value proposition is that you don't have to go to the GP and queue for your appointment. You can like book it at home and then wait, and then when it's like 10 minutes to your appointment, then you go down and see the GP instead of like queuing there when you're sick.
Yes. No, yeah, exactly. So when you're in the bed, right, and you're lazy, you're sick, you just take out the phone, you get the queue number from your bed, and then make your way down. And Sonia's very excited for it because of its use. Like public good, right? Not because of yourself.
Correct. Yeah, so I think it's an opportunity to warn things like that. Like, you're just irritated by something every day. And then like, okay, now I'll go and solve it. And then, at OGP, you have the resources to go and solve it, to go and, create an MVP, build an MVP, demonstrate value and solve it really quickly. Something that I'm really passionate about is digital inclusion. So I think a lot of our elderly are left behind nowadays. Like, we digitalize a lot, and how do we like solve that problem? How do we kind of like prevent them getting scammed? Prevent them like getting confused and having to go down to the government office and queue for hours at a time, and then only to be told, oh, you still have to log in with your SingPass, and they have no idea what their password is, right? So these kinds of problems I'm really passionate about. Yeah, I really like that like unparalleled kind of autonomy as
So
public entrepreneur. Yeah.
In the spirit of like things that interest you or things that you want to work on, right? I wanted to pose a question to Ning Sang. What are some of the sorry to arrow you on last minute, but what are some of the things that you're currently working on that excites you, or maybe something that you want to focus on in the near future that you feel very passionate about, like what we just did?
Well, at Digital Analytics team, like I said, right, the product that I'm working on is enabling officers to develop their own models. So, well, to me, it's exciting because I'm bringing capabilities to the officers, to the public sector, as in the other agencies, and through many different ways. So one is we also support causes to help them to level up, understand what is AI, but through the product itself, which is no code, you don't actually need to know how to develop your own AI model, and then they could easily just, not easily, but you have to annotate a lot of data and then develop the model. What people don't realize for model development is actually most of the time you spend on the data, right? AI models require a lot of data, and data require labeling, and they are the ones who will need to label. Because the interesting use cases that we've come across is Singapore Food Agency actually has, they do cultures of various fish food and microorganisms, right? And the names they use are like rotifers, Artemia. Essentially they are fish food and small prawns, right? So, but what they do is they take samples and then they actually have to count under scopes, take a picture, count the number of samples to determine how well the culture is developing. So this process takes a lot of time and very manual because literally have to count, right? And could take up to 40 minutes. So our team worked with them at the very, very early stage of the whole process to help them develop something that they can just easily take a picture, and then the model just tell you, okay, how many like dead or alive, rotifers, and so on and so forth. So they can continually build on these capabilities. So it may not sound very cool or exciting, like because the public are not using it, but these are some of the use cases that I've come across. And what's exciting to me is that when we started out, it's very much helping statement, right? They have a lot of issues, as in they have processes that are very manual, long-drawn, and they think that AI can solve it, right? But there's no commercial solution out there, right? There's no commercial solution to help you count rotifer or Artemia specifically. If those who understand what AI models do, you actually have to tell them what these things are, right? And so the whole process of helping them to prototype, validate their business use case, test the feasibility of these models, and then now at a stage where not just SFA but other agencies included, to really see how they train a model without actually having deep knowledge, and then working into their operational workflows. So to me, that's exciting.
Okay,
Yeah.
so before we go to Carmen to ask her like what's up with what are some of the interesting products that you're working on, I'm going to ask you if for Tesla's full self-driving, is it possible or not?
No, I don't drive.
No, but they use. Okay, never mind. We skip the numbers. I'll chase you after this. Okay, yeah. So Carmen again. What are some of the projects that you're excited about?
I guess for HDB, we have quite a number of e-services and systems that we make available to the public. And I would like to share that I think we're at the stage where we realize that it's time to actually bring our e-services to the next level. Like how can we make it much better, much more seamless for the customer when they're trying to apply for a flat, or maybe even just buying a season parking ticket and things like that. So actually we have quite a number of products we have lined up. It's just try to prioritize which one to start first. It's like there's so many until we don't even know like which one do we want to go for first. I think that's why we're also here to see whether there's room to expand and then
But any one product that stands out to you like, oh, I can't wait for this to come out?
don't have that.
Don't have.
Also equally.
All also awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, consider joining HDB.
The
Yeah.
outreach, I mean, because season parking, there's so many drivers, right? All of you definitely, one way or another, need to buy season parking eventually. So the people you can reach out to is very big. Sales, if you guys are buying a flat, definitely, at one point or another, also you have to use that application as well. So very hard. If you ask me to choose one now, I also don't know to choose.
That is lovely.
How is the e-service?
That is lovely.
Okay, right. I thought that
Ask me some question, I sweat. Stress.
I thought that last time when I bought your house, right? I thought it was quite.
Why you buy my house?
It was quite good that you can see the units, you can choose the units and all that. That part was pretty cool, and I think like for now when you see like all your housing loan and all this, right? It's quite straightforward to navigate. And most of the things you want to do, you can do it online, which I think is a huge shift, right? You rarely have to go down physically into not just HDB everywhere also to do stuff. At most you have to it's also about digital inclusivity for the elderly. I think most of these institutions have agencies. They have kiosks for the elderly to just walk in and do their stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I think we are almost about time, but I just wanted to pass around the mic. If you have any closing thoughts about if there's still people out there, they just got laid off, they are kind of curious about joining the public sector, but they're on the fence. What would you say? What would you say to them? Sonia, you have to go first.
Try lah. As in, I would say just apply to us or just approach us, get to know us, and we can answer all your questions that you know everything you need to know. I think there are a lot of misconceptions now. So I think one misconception is like compensation. So some people think public service are paid a lot, and some people think we are paid very little. So the truth is, for tech at least, I would say, we've had people on our team come from like Google, Zendesk, and Meta. There's never been any problem with compensation. So that's one thing. I think the red tape is another big misconception. Actually, everywhere you go as an entrepreneur, like everyone here, I guess like you guys are interested in product, right? As an entrepreneur, you definitely have to sell your ass off, right? And it's not just red tape, it's people that you have to convince, it's people who are the decision makers. So I would say that public service gives you a lot of experience in that. There are areas with no red tape, there are areas with like more red tape, but I was previously at a big tech company as well. I would say the level of bureaucracy is actually the same.
Actually, when I was on the way out of my previous role, I think I faced more red tape there than when I joined OGP. But yeah, it's a true story actually. And you guys can ask me about it after this.
Yeah, Tim can ask me about it too. So I would say those are two biggest misconceptions. So I would say just try lah, just approach us. Yeah. No harm.
Yeah, I agree, just try. Right? I mean, take the first lead, but first understand what kind of role we offer, different agencies offering. Right? See whether it fits your requirement, your career goals, and then after that, have a conversation. Right? Start the conversation first, find out for yourself. And that's the reason why we're here.
If I may say, product management is somewhat introduced to in government, like maybe within the last 5 years. Right? There have traditionally been more project management, and we're moving into product management now. And it's really quite the phase in which you want to be in to change things if you want. I think coming from DSEID, very similar, I guess, to OGP, is that the PMs get a lot of autonomy. You want to do things, you need to pitch, right? I mean, that's the role of a product manager. If you're a product manager and you don't know how to pitch, oh well, anyway. So, which means you also need to tell people, like, why fund me? Why use me? Right? It's the same thing, right? Red tape or not, it's the same process, the same thing. It's just that maybe the processes in which you get your, the bureaucracy is a lot more complicated because this government is huge, right? It's huge. We are not a one product company, right? We are multi-services. Even GovTech is not one product company, right? So there are many people with different understandings and things like that. So you just have to be able to pitch. And I would say this is the time to join and make a difference, right? Shape things in a way that truly will bring value. At least that's how I see it, right? This last 3 years, in my team, we grew from 8 people to now 20-something people. I was in that process, right? How we define a framework, how do we define agile? How do we work with engineers? These are, beyond the product management role, but it's exciting, right? There are no right or wrong answers, technically speaking. Different teams do different things, right? But it is the time that we are making a difference.
Probably for myself, what I can share is similar to what they said, right? If you're really curious, I think just take the leap of faith, give it a shot. I think also people have this misconception that in the public service we're very relaxed. Every day go back punctually, but you'll be surprised by the number of challenges, and it can get quite exciting at times, the projects that you can work on. For me, when I joined, an eye-opening experience is really getting a chance to see how the government works. The thought process that goes behind when we design a system, when we come up with a policy, it's very hard to explain. And only if you're in the public service, then you can really get a chance to see what goes under the hood, right? How the things get developed, the thought process, and we really try our best to put citizens' best interest when we design all these systems. So, feel free to reach out. I think when we have a team later, if you are curious to find out more of the various opportunities.
Can I have a mic back?
Two mics. Okay, I think we're just about time, right? Sorry for the people online. I couldn't get to your questions, but feel free to reach out to us after this. I guess I wanted to close by sharing a bit about like if you're still on the fence and you don't know whether to take the leap of faith, as many of you have said it, to join the public sector. For me, what I found the most compelling was that the people that I care about, like my friends, my family, they can benefit from the work that I do directly. Even for health department system and the vaccinations, right? The moment we launched it, my family members started getting vaccinated. Before that, they were not vaccinated because it was too late to do it. But that's just for our perspective. That is, the rest of the government, they do other kinds of stuff that are equally meaningful, if not more. And if you think that you have the skills, design, product management, to you have an idea nagging in your head that you think, shit, man, we should really have this day and age. Try to join, consider joining the public service to realize that dream. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you so much, John, and all our panelists. Okay, all good. So we're going to move on into the networking segment now. I have a couple of announcements and instructions on what to do. So first, we wanted to introduce some of the agencies that are here today. Many of these would be familiar with you. You've probably seen them in your daily lives. So I will just give a shout out to each of them, and I'll give a shout out to each of them, and the agency reps who are here, you can wave so that people know where to find you and what you look like. So starting from the CPF board. CPF board folks, yes, hello. Yeah, almost all of these agencies are hiring for product or project managers or system analysts or similar roles. Yeah, so please feel free to talk to them. Civil Service College, over here, yes, but we'll wander over there later. So GovTech, the Data Science AI division, you can talk to folks later. Housing Development Board, okay, over here. Yes, they will be around there later. The National Library, there'll be, okay, yes, some folks are seated at the back as well. The Public Utilities Board, PUB, yes, okay, representative is here. Open government products will be like hanging out around here. And last but not least, the Singapore Armed Forces Digital and Intelligence Service. So we have two representatives over there who will be around this area. So yeah, feel free to look at the signs. The signs also have some samples of the current openings that they are hiring for, so that you can get a sense of the types of jobs that are available in these organizations. And for the people joining us online, we have a few agency reps who will be logging on online as well and will be answering your questions via the Q&A. So feel free to ask your questions there. Some extra two final announcements. One is you can check out our microsite, which has been recently launched in the last 2 weeks. This is a website with all of the different agencies' roles that are available. So you can see what are the available job openings, as well as what are the links to access agencies' hiring portals or careers at Gov, like job listings. Yeah, it's just the government's portal so that you're able to apply for jobs on like one centralized portal and filter for them. But if you would like us to be able to contact you directly, so many of the hiring managers are here today, and they are hiring managers across the entire government. Highly recommend you use the QR code on the left to drop your CV, as well as some of your contact details, so that hiring managers can proactively reach out to you when they see suitable roles. So if you are looking for a job in the public service, this is a great way for you to be contacted proactively by them without doing very much. And if they see suitable roles, they will directly reach out to you in the coming weeks. Yeah, this is the QR code for the previous slide. This website. Yeah, and folks online, we encourage you to do this as well. Feel free to drop your CV using the QR code on the left so that people can get in touch with you. Okay, and last but not least, you can share with us your feedback from today's session. We hope that you found it useful, have a little bit of insight into what product management is like in the government, as well as have an opportunity to speak with many people who are here today, hiring across the public sector. So for the agency reps who are joining us online, we will start in about 5 minutes. We'll start the online Q&A in about 5 minutes. And if you are here present in person with us, feel free to head over to the Rojak room. All our rooms are named after food, so that you can, yeah, that one's Yong Tau Fu. You can head over to the Rojak room where you can join the video call. Yeah, and people online just sit tight. We'll start in about 5 minutes after some of our people use the bathroom and grab some food. Okay, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll have just a free flow networking time until about 9 p.m. for us here in person. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So my name is Kenneth, and I'm the moderator for today's panel Q&A session. And I just want to check if the audio sounds okay to everyone. Okay, good. So what we're going to begin with the online panel session right now. Just in case you guys didn't see the group chat So today we have with us representatives from NLB, MND, MINDEF, PUB, as well as OGP. And I've listed, their information here. So in case, you guys are curious, as to who's from where, basically the information will be available to you. Okay, so to kick off the panel session, maybe what we can do is we can go around, starting from Rama, going down to Faisal. All of us can give like a quick 1 minute self-introduction so that the online attendees are aware of, our background and what types of questions to ask. And then in the meantime, the online panelists, feel free to ask your questions via Q&A. Or if you want to directly ask a question, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you after the self-introduction. Okay, yeah. If it's all good, then maybe we can start with a 1 minute quick introduction by Rama.
Hi guys, can you hear me? Okay, good. I'm from India now. Here. The place is very noisy here, and I am working with NLB for 32 years in the IT division at various roles. I joined as a manager and the deputy CIO. My boss was there just now, Richard Lee, with the CIO now. So we have a lot of recruitment happening in the last 1 year because of the staff turnover and new vacancies. And I'll try to answer the questions along the way. I hope you can hear me, and sorry for the noise. Yeah, thank you.
Great. What about, maybe you can move on to Marcus. Marcus can give us a quick introduction.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Marcus. I'm from the Digital Intelligence Service. You might have heard of this FOSS service. It's not so mysterious. We do our traditional job of cybersecurity, intelligence, but also we're moving into providing digital solutions for the entire SAF. So think about the NSMen, NSFs, and all the regulars that we need to benefit. And that's really what we aim to do for the DIS. I myself, I'm an intelligence officer by trade, but I have the privilege of working on various digitalization initiatives and projects with other engineers.
And maybe we can invite Hui Xian to share a bit about herself.
Hi, I'm Hui Xian from MND. I'm technically not like in a full-time product manager role. I think that my role in my organization involves actually working on analytics project and the corporate development department. So I think in a ministry setting itself, in the environment that we operate in, the products that we use are largely driven by WOG, which is like GovTech Colleagues, OGP products, etc. But I think when we plug it into our agency context, how do we make it useful to the stakeholders that we serve? And how can we ensure that the needs are being met within the agency level, designing the business questions that they would like answered, whether it's via dashboards or even in terms of the internal agency applications. Yeah.
See. So you work in the analytics division?
Yes, technically my role, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. I can give a quick introduction, self-introduction before Faisal. So like I said, my name is Kenneth and I'm a product manager at Open Government Products, specifically in the health tech space. So my focus area is really on the COVID related products that are built by OGP. So the backend systems for Trace Together and Health Hub that you guys might have used when you need to scan in and out of restaurants. Also the national appointment system for COVID-19 vaccines. So if any of you have taken your vaccines in Singapore, you book the appointment through their website. So that is also another product that we built here. And the last product that I worked on was the Zendemic system. Basically, if you catch COVID and you get a series of SMSs like Form SG, like basically very detailed instructions on what to do every step of the way. That's also another product that we built. And yeah, so happy to answer any questions relating to product management and health tech, the health tech space if anyone's curious. Yeah. Moving on to you, Faisal.
Hi, I'm Faisal from PUB. My projects are mostly in the smart operations side. We have quite a number of internal facing systems, applications that's making the operations smarter. So like workflow systems, utility operation optimization systems. And also we have some interesting ones that came up just this year, like something on wearables for operational safety, productivity, as well as visual analytics for better ground sensing, and so on. So we got quite a number of sensing IoT projects, and yeah, workflow systems. So quite a number of projects down there just to make the operations in PUB more efficient, more productive, safer. Yeah, and a lot of these systems have to be managed well by a competent team. And so, yep, you're also hiring. Yeah.
Sounds good. Very cool. Okay. I thought that basically there are a ton of questions being asked on the Q&A space. Before maybe we'll start off by categorizing them in like major groups, right? So I think a lot of the people here are curious about transitioning into the product management role, either from a technical background, an engineer, an analyst, moving into product management, or someone who doesn't have a tech background moving into product management, or even like mid-career like product managers coming into the public service to work on product management roles. So how about we can start with the question about basically how our PM roles basically for the respective organizations, like is your sensing to move into the product management space, do you require a tech background? Yeah, and any of the panelists wants to take the question, you can go ahead and do so.
I can give a try if you guys can hear me very well. I have already posted some answers in the Q&A. In NLB, PMs, most of the PMs, they need technical knowledge, but may not be very deep as a solution architect or a security consultant. You don't need that kind of knowledge, but you need to come from an application development if you're an application PM, and or infrastructure management if you're infra PM. But I just put in the answers in the Q&A. It is not that difficult or challenging for a non-technical person to pick up the IT skills. I think all of us picked up IT skills OJT, on the job training. IT has changed. I joined IT 22 years before, and IT has changed a lot. And you just keep on reading, keep on hearing, keep on listening. That's all you need. As long as you show the commitment, you can learn the IT stuff very, very fast. The commitment is the most important thing. This might take your time.
Interesting. So I guess to summarize Rama's answer, it's basically like generally speaking, it depends from project to project. Some project requires more technical experience, others don't. But generally, like the willingness to learn and the willingness to pick up technical like skills is something that is very critical. Faisal, do you want to add on?
Yeah, maybe I can just add on to Mr. Rama's earlier response. See, I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I went on more on the operation side of PUB, and now I'm on the IT side trying to make operations better. And I've been learning some of the tech skills, and I have to say it's quite okay. It's quite. I mean, it's not so easy to pick up, but I think if you try, you can definitely pick up the necessary technical skills that you need along the way. But I think the more important thing is the willingness to learn where you're going to apply it. You need to know that context. I think that's the business analysis part that's mostly lacking, I would say. It's quite a difficult skill and attitude to get. So I think those who are thinking of, what they can expect, I think this is something they should look at, the willingness to understand where you're going to apply so that you can tune the solutions correctly, apply the solutions correctly. So once you can get that, I think that's the key factor.
Okay, I guess like this is a good transition. We talked about whether you require technical background to be a product manager or to work in some of the roles that are being offered here. I thought the next question, natural one, is are your organizations looking to hire fresh grads in different roles? It doesn't have to be in the product manager role, but what types of levels of experience are you looking at?
maybe I'll speak, but of course, yeah, the others can speak after me. But yeah, in DIS, currently we are actually hiring engineers starting from this year. But next year onwards, we'll be looking into hiring product managers potentially as well. And the unique thing about the SAF or DIS is that we do have a lot of passionate officers in the military scheme that are really keen on making change, bringing technology to transform their daily operations, because that's where we live and breathe. But potentially in DIS, we're actually looking potentially to hire a more senior product manager who can actually train up some of our officers as well and partner them in actually managing different products. And just an idea of some of the stuff that we are doing, they range from things like computer vision to help us process intelligence that safeguards our borders, NLP to help us watch news to look out for potential threats, or even analysis systems that help us operate more efficiently. So there are a lot of I myself have been involved in some of these projects, and yeah, it's a really fun time. And we do want to bring in people who are able, what we are saying in terms of someone more senior, we do want to bring in people who are able to really pinpoint the features that make the most difference to our users and help us to track that and make sure those are being prioritized.
And I can speak for OGP, but for some of you are curious about product management roles at OGP. So we are looking to hire from all range of experiences, from basically junior product managers to senior product managers and lead product managers. And during the interview, basically you will be assessed on which level you're currently at, and you'll be given the offer respectively. So I wouldn't be too worried about whether I'm 15 years of experience or whether I'm just starting up. But I will say that in terms of the traits that we look out for, we do want product managers with some degree of technical expertise. But it doesn't have to be formal training in computer science stuff, right? If you've taken a course on programming, if you're able to understand basic algorithm problems, actually that's good enough for us. And basically the rest, we're happy to train you on the job. But we would prefer someone with some degree of technical or at least quantitative comfort that companies would join. Yeah. Okay, I want to move on to a question by Clarissa. Basically, what are the most critical traits and skills that maybe not just OGP, but the other organizations as well here are looking out for product managers, given that it's not necessarily in the business tech or design, they're not the business tech or design SMEs. Does one want to take this question? Critical skills and traits that you look out for in product managers. Okay, I can kick the ball. I can start the ball rolling. So at OGP, so some of you might have read up about OGP, and the idea is an incubator that creates tech products for the government. So actually, one of the key qualities that we look out for in product managers are entrepreneurial spirit. So the ability to get things done, solve problems, is actually the most important trait that we look out for, right? So taking the initiative, being enterprising, thinking of solutions outside of the box. If you can provide these examples of how you've done that in your previous jobs or in school, that's something that we look out for. And like I mentioned just now, some degree of technical ability. And at this point, I will add that I think that at OGP, product managers are slightly different than product managers in other big tech firms, right? So I have friends who are working on in big tech firms where when you join as a product manager, you take charge of a subdomain of a feature, a feature within a feature, and you become very an expert in, for example, messaging apps, in making sure that emojis look as lifelike as possible, right? Whereas at OGP, a lot of times the PM is the only person in charge of the entire product, so you have to be comfortable with end-to-end ownership over the entire product, including impact. So there was a question about what's the difference between product owner, project manager, and PM, and specifically for OGP, the PM takes on all three roles. So you're responsible for the ultimate outcome of the product. So you can't just be like in one corner and you're like, oh, I'm really good at like messaging, and that's it, right? Because at the end of the day, like the application is not being used or it's not creating a lot of impact, then it's of no use to anyone. So the types of PM that we naturally look up for is very different. Right? We're not looking for someone who can lock themselves in a room for like 1 week and then basically become like an expert in one thing. Rather, we're looking for people who are like more flexible minded and are enterprising and are willing to go out there and get things done. This is a slightly longer answer. I was thinking maybe for the other panelists, if you want to speak to experiences working with product managers that you think are effective and some of the traits or skills that you think like help them like do well as PMs, you can answer that as well. Okay, I will jump on to the next question. The second question that I thought was quite highly voted and was quite good is, what is it like doing product management work in the public service, given that there are a lot of legacy systems, tech architectures, and policies, that you have to overcome, right? I think all of us here from different agencies have that kind of problem where you're not building from scratch, you're building on something that has been around for like the last 10 years. And how do you like go about overcoming that? Anyone wants to share a bit of their experience?
Maybe I can share a little bit as well about some of the digitalization initiatives that have taken place in DIS, and yeah, specifically with legacy systems. I think the SAF are really good at buying a fighter jet or a tank and using it for 20 years, and this really creates a problem of legacy systems. And in our C4 systems as well, we also have legacy tech architectures. And really what we have to deal with is, first of all, how can we convince users that their needs will be met? Because really a legacy system just meets a pre-existing need. And I think that one of the things that we've like realized in many projects in the SAF is how can you make the transition easy and seamless for them, ensure that their needs will always be met or maybe even be exceeded. And then you get into conversations about what features could you offer them, and then from there you bring everything together, and then you also need to actually work with stakeholders to talk about how feasibly could you implement your project. So really, I would say that if you are up for a challenge and up for making an impact, these legacy systems are just things to be overcome in pursuit of delivering a good outcome.
And maybe I can cover Faisal. Maybe you can share a bit about your experience like working with some of the systems at UB. I know you moved from like doing like ops work, to now like developing IT systems.
Yeah, so I can add on a bit on legacy systems, because I mean, we are going through a period of change. We are going through a lot of digitalization initiatives, and we are moving to the cloud and so on, from on-prem systems and legacy systems. So it's a good time for us to really understand what and why are we doing the system, having that application, who are we serving. So that actually kind of makes you get connected to the purpose properly, and then design. I mean, not all product managers have to design the system, but actually it helps you think about it, whether do we really need the legacy system like how we used to in the past. So so that's the kind of thinking, a kind of questioning that we have to do when we are like taking on or managing some of this legacy system or working with legacy system. We have to constantly challenge, can there be a better way to do this, more future-proof way to do this, because a lot of the legacy systems are all locked in the past and very, can't move because it's not agile at all, the opposite of agile. So we have to, it's a good time, good opportunity for product managers or any person in the IT sector to really rethink the way we are doing it and think fresh and implement them. Yeah.
Actually, I second what Faisal just said. Like, this is my experience as well. I think the biggest challenge is convincing people who are used to the older systems that there's a different way of doing it, right? And that, for example, if you're trying to change something or trying to rebuild something to be a bit more agile, rather than like, like basically rebuilding everything from scratch according to what you think the public wants. One thing that we've tried experimenting with is just building small and like growing from there, right? So someone was sharing at OGP. It's like instead of building a Lamborghini from scratch, right? Like the idea is like we start building like a skateboard, and then the skateboard improves into a bicycle, then a bicycle improves into etc. And the idea is that finally it ends up with a state that is like exactly how you want it to be. Whereas if you try and build something like a huge like a monolithic structure from the beginning, then you'll find that like whatever you've ended up building might not be exactly what you need. But then you're stuck with it, right? Because you poured millions of dollars for 5 years working on this thing, and then it's too late to change. So I would say that the challenge is trying to get people to change their mentality. But the beauty of it is that once they do change their mentality, you really see like huge changes like in the way we do things, right? Like yesterday there was a different session. We had panelists from CPFB. I'm not sure if you guys have used like the new CPFB app, and I think it's like leaps and bounds like ahead of what CPFB used to be, and it's the kind of impact it can make for all of Singapore, right? Like just convincing a bunch of people that there's a new and better way of doing things, and you end up with a product that's like just like 10, 100 times better than it was before. It's not easy, but I think that's the beauty of working in the public sector. That your impact like affects like people's lives. Okay. I thought that maybe another question that was up there that I thought was interesting was what's the difference in the scope of work between different roles within your team. So I thought maybe if the panelists here can share a bit about what a typical unit looks like in your team, and what are the different roles and how do they separate their duties, like just to give the people a sense of what it looks like, like a day you're working in a unit or a team in your organization. Yeah. Maybe we can get Hui Xian to share a bit about your working in the analytics division.
Okay, I think as I was like hearing the panel discussion, I think you really identify with what Kenneth was sharing about how like in the public sector, it's really the roles that we're involved in are not so specialized, but we tend to need to have the end-to-end view. So I think for my role, at least for the corporate analytics team, how we are organized internally is we have a finance analytics, like small setup, as well as a HR analytics, small setup. And that what we do is that we need to do like data management role. We need to do the data transformation, data visualization, and then as well as like supporting the dashboards that are live within the organization. So I think in that sense, we really need to be quite nimble in the way we operate. I think I saw a question on asking the difference between operating in a ministry versus say in a agency, which is like a statutory board, for example. I think the way the ministry is set up is at a WOG level, there are certain common systems, common platforms that essentially is being pushed so that there's a consistency in terms of the architecture that is being used across WOG to reach economies of scale. So within the ministry itself, if for my IT colleagues, like the people that sometimes I try to run to get some support, what they need to know, they need to be quite effective in trying to bridge between what the OGP products are as well as the organization problems. But I think honestly, there are times where a lot of times we find ourselves trying to solve our own problems. So there's also a question on whether do you need technical skills to thrive. I would say that if you know technical skills, it helps because you can try to like use Python and stuff in your role, and then you can try to you can build solutions within your hands rather than be reliant on the traditional way products need to be managed within the space itself. So a lot of times it's like within the box you are not locked, but it's about how do you effectively navigate and implement a relevant solution such that you don't overspend in terms of your budget. Like you don't need a fancy system sometimes to do certain problems that we have. Yeah, so I think that's the key. And I think that's the question whether are we being like put behind by the legacy systems, architecture and stuff. I would just say that maybe the question is more like, will you be okay working alongside the different people that are working on different parts of improving how we work within the government? Like different people are looking at the policies, different people are looking at architecture, but I think the desire is that we want to do what's best within the resources that we have and yeah, make it work. Yeah, for the stakeholders we serve, internal and external. Yeah.
I can share a little bit from OGP's perspective. Like for us, really it's a small team of like 4 to 5 people, like 1 product manager, 2 engineers, and 1 designer, and that basically that's it. Like and so if you like working in small teams, and it's a very collegiate setting, so a lot of the people, they dress quite casually, and they're quite a fun bunch of people, right? Like that's your kind of vibe, right? Like then I think OGP is somewhere that you can maybe you enjoy being in. I wanted to raise one question specifically for Marcus. So the question is, for the C4X bracket digital vocation, what is the selection process like? Do you have to do lead code or like HackerRank? Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think we did analysis of our first few C4X digitals, and I think there was some correlation between their lead code scores and whether they got selected. So anyway, for those of you online who might know, C4X was really a vocation that the SAF started a few years ago, focused on cybersecurity. But starting from this year, we've brought on digital competencies into it, meaning really software engineering and data science or artificial intelligence or even cloud architecting. And our selection process, generally for the entry levels, there's a 3-stage interview consisting of 2 technical interviews and then a fit interview. Yeah, really, I think what we are looking out for is ability to produce code and solve problems, ability to discuss code, and of course, we're looking out for good habits, such as, does your code consider the problem holistically? Like, hopefully it doesn't only solve the test case problem in front of you. It really, there's some thought being put into it, whether it really meets the stated user need of the problem statement. Yeah. Yeah, this is a brief overview of the selection process. And I'd just like to mention as well, since we're on the vocation topic, you can also actually consider joining the DIS if you want to join us as a civilian under the DXO scheme. And alternatively, actually, we've also recently started this thing called the Expertise Conversion Scheme. So under this scheme, you can join us without joining us. If you are a software engineer or data scientist and you want to spend your NS liabilities working with us, you can search out on the NS portal Expertise Conversion Scheme. Yeah, thanks for this question, whoever it is, anonymous.
Great, yeah. Thanks for your answer. Okay, I wanted to shift, to some of the questions that people have about, like, the years of experience required for a junior or senior role. I would say that, generally speaking, there's no hard and fast rule. There's no strictly like, if you are 5 years, then you are this level, or if you are like 10 years, then you are that level. I think a lot of it is about demonstrated competency and experience. So if you've demonstrated that you are at, you're a product director at a company, right? Like, even if you're like just, in your early 30s, like, I think that naturally people will be confident that you take on like product director role, right? Like, if you demonstrated the competencies, right? And then put it around, like, if you're like 15 years and you're still like working as an individual contributor, then perhaps like, your role is more scope towards the individual contributor side of the house. And I'll say that, it's difficult to like, give a hard and fast answer as to, what maps to what. But I'll say like, you should just apply and then, the process will figure itself out. The next question that I thought was good was, are all of the projects based on apps and software on the PM roles? So as you all can tell, like we are represented by many different agencies across the board here, right? There are systems that are like physical systems. They're hiring for that. There are basically even amongst like the software space, there are different domains like video analytics, like front end, like web application, and then Marcus's work will probably be include like hardware as well, to say the least. Yeah, so there's definitely a wide range of expertise that's being like asked for here. So you don't have to be too worried that your domain of expertise is necessarily one that is being hired here. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to, I guess, move on to the participants because we've been like going through the questions for a bit. Does anybody have any questions you want to ask in person? If you do raise your hand, we'll just unmute you, and then so you can just ask your question. Okay. Let's see that. Okay. Then I want to answer. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered all the questions. Okay. Yeah. So I guess like maybe to close off, one question that we would like to ask all the panelists is, what do you think like success looks like for people, the position they're hiring for within your agency, and so just give people a sense of like what it is like to do well in your organization. Maybe we can start off with Hui Xian.
Okay, I think for my role, for our role, basically, in the new year, what we are looking at is also, I think, a person who is able to work on analytics project as well as able to support development of low code applications internally using workflow, because there are as you look to digitalize internally, there are areas within the corporate processes where it can be better served if some of the processes are linked up. And so it's a space where I would say there's a lot of room for, I think, person to explore how the workflow product is can optimize within the agency. Also, I think for us, in terms of success, it's really about not being constrained by the constraints that we have and delivering what will best meet the use case. Yeah.
Maybe Faisal can share with us a bit of what you think success looks like at uni.
Right. Okay. Here in PB, we've got quite a number of opportunities in like data analytics, visual analytics, and sensing and all that. But I think when a product manager comes in, I think the key factor they're looking out for is actually end-to-end, trying to understand the business needs clearly, and then managing or developing the products to suit the needs and to make it, keep it relevant, to keep the products relevant to the team, and overcoming the change, and so that the product eventually, like what you just said before, reap not just 2 times or 3 times the benefits, but 10 times and more. Like it kind of transform the process, grows along with the people and the process to transform the organization. So that's what I see as success for the product manager in an organization. Yeah.
Maybe Marcus, you can share a bit, and then we'll move to Rama after that.
Yeah. So I think some of the change, some of the successful change that has been made has really been come about by people understanding both the needs of end users as well as the concerns of senior management. So I really think that a successful, product manager is someone who really can demonstrate the ability to sharply sieve through what people say they want, and then really come down to delivering, really sieving through to what you could do to deliver value to them. So not necessarily getting lost in the weeds of the details, but really looking at how you can pitch value to them as well as to the senior management in the organization.
Rama?
I hope you can hear me. Yeah, so whether it's a project manager or a product manager, in my view, the success, there are a couple of aspects, One is your own personal success, did you deliver your project? If your stakeholders are working nicely with you, are you able to deliver a project, or are you able to maintain a project successfully? This is a personal part of thing. But when you look at the product itself or project itself, that need to add value to whichever agency or organization you are working, and you need to keep on learning the domain. Many of the IT project managers, one of their main challenges, they spend in an organization 3 to 4 years, and they are good in their IT knowledge, the technical knowledge, but they didn't spend enough time to pick up the business knowledge. And that business knowledge is required for you to add value, keep on enhancing it. You discuss your business users, can I add this feature, can I add that feature, That domain, picking the domain knowledge makes a full success, because that also helps the product to be really useful to the citizens or users. This is my take, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll just end off with like just share what success looks like for OGP product manager. I think that the product managers do really well at OGP are people with like the can-do spirit, and they don't necessarily. No, in fact, it's the opposite. They try and think of like the easiest way to solve a problem. So sometimes like building like a big system like with like 50 engineers is not like what is priced at OGP. Like being able to solve the problem with no engineer is what defines like a really good PM. Right? And basically my impression of like really good product managers are people who can get buy-in from the stakeholders, convince them to do things differently, and they can accomplish a lot with very little resources, and they never say no, never say die. I can't remember what's the saying. Basically, it's like they'll never give up, right? Like, and it's difficult, right? Because trying to get government agencies or ministries or stakeholders to think differently about like product is not easy. Especially when some of them have been around for 10, 20, 30 years, and they know a lot more than you about like what the domain is about, right? Like, so coming in and trying to convince them that they should try out something new is not easy. And PMs are able to do that. Often I find like do really well. Yeah. Okay. Before we end, I just want to share a link here for people who are interested in continuing with the process. So this is the website where you can, if you go on the conversation thread, you'll find a website where you can find out about the different roles that are being offered across all the different government agencies. And if you want to drop your CVs, here is a format sheet link where basically you can upload your CV so that the different agencies can basically take a look at you and then see if you'll be a good fit for the positions that we're looking at hiring. Right. Otherwise, we'll still have like more events coming up, over the next month. Information is available on LinkedIn, so if anyone wants to continue to keep tabs. Even if you don't think that now is the right time, you want to continue to find out more, like follow us on LinkedIn, and the information will all be there. Otherwise, I just want to thank the panelists for taking time out on Wednesday evening to be here with us and to answer questions. If not, thanks everyone for coming today. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.